What if I told you that one of the most beloved, most unique, most otherworldly characters in professional wrestling just walked through a door, and instead of celebration, it lit a fuse backstage that could blow the entire locker room apart? What if I told you the very person fans have been screaming to see on the grandest stage finally got there, and some of the biggest names in the business are not happy about it? Welcome to WrestleScope. I'm about to tell you something that is going to make your jaw drop, and honestly, it's going to make you angry. Because this story isn't just about a debut. This is about politics, about gatekeeping, and about whether the suits in charge actually listen to the fans who make this industry breathe. Buckle up, because this one is very, very evil. Let's rewind. For years, one name echoed across wrestling Twitter, wrestling Reddit, wrestling YouTube comment sections like a battle cry. Danhausen. Very nice, very evil. The man with the jar of teeth, the painted face, the cursing jar, and a fan base so loyal they would walk barefoot across broken glass just to see him on their screen. He was the darling of the independent scene. Ring of Honor couldn't contain him. AEW gave him a platform and the crowd exploded every single time his music hit. He was over, genuinely over. Not manufactured, not pushed down people's throats, but organically, authentically beloved. So when word started circulating that Danhausen could be making a major move, fans lost their minds in the best possible way. And then it happened. The debut, the moment, the arrival that fans had dreamed about. But behind the curtain, everything was not very nice. Here's where the story gets real, and here's where I need you to pay close attention, because what's allegedly happening backstage is the kind of thing that makes you remember why wrestling can be as infuriating as it is incredible. Sources close to the situation, and I want to be clear, this is what's being reported and discussed in wrestling circles, suggest that Danhausen's arrival hasn't been met with universal open arms in the locker room. Now let that sink in. A man who has never had a bad word said about him publicly. A man whose entire character is built around positivity wrapped in delightful darkness. A man who has hustled, grinded, and bled for this industry. And there are people backstage who are reportedly uncomfortable, threatened, or downright resistant to his presence? Why? That's the question, isn't it? And there are a few theories floating around that I think deserve to be discussed openly, because if we don't talk about it, nothing changes. Theory 1. Creative territorialism. Some established acts allegedly feel that a character as unique and character-driven as Danhausen immediately commands attention, not because they ask for it, but because it gravitates toward them. In a locker room full of egos, that's a problem for some people. Theory 2. The old guard mentality that comedy acts don't draw. There is still a contingent in professional wrestling, veterans, bookers, agents, who genuinely believe that characters like Danhausen belong on YouTube, not on pay-per-view. They see the laughs, the jar of teeth, the curses, and they don't see money, they see a liability. They're wrong, but they're vocal. Theory 3, and this is the one that should make every single one of you furious. The fans have no seat at the table. Danhausen is over because you made him over. Not a writer's room, not a marketing campaign, not a Hollywood agent. You, the wrestling fan, spending your money, buying his merch, chanting his name, watching his matches at 1 a.m. on your phone, and yet the very machine that profits from your passion is allegedly letting internal politics threaten to kneecap the one thing you've been asking for. If that doesn't make your blood boil, I don't know what will. Now, let's shift gears entirely, because there's another debut that has the wrestling world buzzing, and this one comes with its own massive implications. Worts. A name that, if you haven't been following the underground wrestling scene, might not ring a bell yet. Keyword, yet. Worts' debut in WWE has sent shockwaves, not just through the fan base, but reportedly through the corporate structure of WWE itself. Here's the thing about Worts that makes this debut so fascinating. This isn't someone who followed the traditional path. No NXT slow burn, no developmental seasoning. This was a deliberate, calculated move by WWE bros, and many believe it was timed specifically to counter the momentum of debuts happening elsewhere. Think about that. Think about what it means when a major wrestling company makes a reactive signing rather than a proactive one. It tells you that competition is real. It tells you that the landscape is shifting. And it tells you that debuts, characters, moments, arrivals matter more right now than they have in a very long time. Worts brings something to WWE that has been missing. Genuine unpredictability. In a world of carefully scripted promos and predetermined crowd reactions, Worts is a wild card. And wild cards, they either get protected and elevated into main event players, or they get fed to the machine and forgotten within 6 months. The betting money right now, the jury is very much still out. Here's what both of these stories, Danhausen's controversial arrival and Worts' WWE debut, tell us about professional wrestling in 2025 and beyond. We are in an era where character is king, not just athleticism, not just five-star matches. Character. The fans who spend their money, who drive the ratings, who fill the arenas, they connect with people, with personalities, with something that makes them feel something. Danhausen makes people feel joy. He makes them feel like wrestling can be fun again, not just intense, not just serious, not just a soap opera, but fun in a way that doesn't insult anyone's intelligence. Worts makes people feel curious, and curiosity, that's the first step to investment. The backstage politics trying to smother that, that's the same old story that has caused this industry millions of passionate fans over the decades, and it needs to stop. The question isn't whether these debuts will succeed. The question is whether the people in power will let them. So, here's where I leave it with you, WrestleScope Nation. Do you think Danhausen deserves to be protected and elevated, or is the locker room heat a sign of things to come? And what do you make of Worts' debut in WWE? Calculated genius or desperate counterprogramming? I want your takes. I need your takes. Drop them in the comments right now. This is exactly the kind of conversation that needs to happen publicly, loudly, and honestly, because we are this industry's conscience. If you're new here, subscribe. Hit that bell. We don't do surface level here at WrestleScope. We go deep. If this video made you think, made you angry, or made you want to throw your remote, smash that like button. It genuinely helps us keep bringing you the stories that matter. And share this video, because your wrestling friends need to be in this conversation. Tag them, send the link, make some noise. Until next time, stay passionate, stay vocal, and remember, the best thing about professional wrestling is us. I'll see you in the next one.